a king in sunglasses, a princess who could outshine the sun. A Mediterranean summer where every shutter click felt like proof of something bigger. The images are still with us. Stone steps, white yachts, laughing children, a royal exchange between two dynasties, Spanish and British, trying to seem ordinary on holiday. That is where this story begins. In light so perfect it blinded people to everything it did not show. The late 1980s placed the Waleses in Mallorca repeatedly, part of a warm weather ritual hosted by Spain's royal family. Publicly, it read as diplomacy in deck shoes, sunset photocalls, island excursions, shared moments staged to project modern ease. Privately, fissures inside the Wales marriage widened with each season. Those competing truths, carefully curated togetherness and quietly unraveling intimacy, became oxygen for speculation that never entirely burned out. Here is the pattern that made a rumor feel plausible to millions. Proximity, ambiguity, repetition. Proximity. The families genuinely spent time together at Merivent and on the water. Ambiguity. Pictures couldn't explain the distance between the adults, even while capturing their closeness with the children. Repetition. The tableau returned summer after summer, giving tabloids a reusable backdrop where conjecture could dress as continuity. Zoom in on one emotional truth. Diana read as instantly warm with kids and cameras. She projected relief when engaging on her own terms, bending to eye level, hugging, laughing, letting the lens translate her kindness into global currency. This is the Diana a generation remembers. It is also the Diana some powerful men reportedly found hard to read in private. Less performative, more guarded, and fundamentally skeptical of those who mistook her public generosity for personal availability. Meanwhile, Spain's King Juan Carlos was the monarch of momentum. In his telling, the crown had negotiated a nearly impossible turn, from dictatorship's final dusk to a constitutional daybreak. He embodied a restless, forward-leaning energy on the global stage. He sailed, he charmed, he shook hands with presidents and popes. In photographs beside the Princess of Wales, he looked like a man entirely at home in front of a lens. And that's often where fantasy begins. Here's the irony. The same optics designed to humanize two royal households. Relaxation, sun, family, also stripped away context. A smile on a jetty could be courtesy or chemistry. A shared laugh could be relief or respect. A close crop could make co-presence look like intimacy. The medium never declared intent. It asked viewers to supply it. Across newspapers and breakfast tables, they did. Did you know the Mallorca Myth outlived the marriage it shadowed? As the Wales Union cracked in full public view, the island summers were retrofitted into an explanatory device, an early signal that something was off. That's how rumor often recruits the past. Post facto, smoothing jagged timelines into neat foreshadowing. In this case, the neatness fooled people into feeling informed. It made a complicated set of summers play like a single episode with an obvious ending. The human cost here is easy to overlook. When a rumor becomes culture, it stops asking permission from the lives it trims to size. For Diana, inference piled atop injury. For Juan Carlos, innuendo joined a growing dossier of stories, some public, some whispered, that blurred the line between verified scandal and unverified talk. Mallorca, once simply a place, became a genre. Mediterranean intrigue with a cast of the globally familiar. Now hold that image, sun on the water, cameras on the quay, and add one more ingredient, silence. For decades, neither palace officially authenticated nor definitively dismantled the speculation. Silence is not guilt, but it is a stage on which rumor can improvise endlessly. That is why one sentence in a late-life book would matter so much. A direct answer arriving after nearly 40 years of ambient noise. So in part one, where it began, with a photograph. It shows you two royal households orchestrating normalcy. It shows nothing that can't be explained by diplomacy, hospitality, and human complexity. But it feels like a doorway to something unsaid. In the gap between shown and felt, a rumor took root, and for a very long time, no one with the power to bury it chose a shovel. Part 2. The Denial. Inside the memoir and the media storm. A page turns in exile. Spain's former king, now 87, dictates his recollections across a table in Abu Dhabi. The manuscript that emerges is called Reconciliation. It promises history and confession, legacy and ledger, above all, control over a narrative he believes others have been writing for him. Buried among constitutional milestones and personal missteps, waits a line with the gravitational pull of a headline. There was no affair with Princess Diana. And then the phrase that sets the news cycle ablaze. Diana as cold, taciturn, distant, except in the presence of the paparazzi. This is how a denial becomes a phenomenon. The subject is sacred, Diana. The speaker is polarizing, Juan Carlos. The timing is precision engineered for maximum heat. Memoir pre-release, press interviews queued across languages, and a Europe revisiting the moral arithmetic of the late 20th century. Journalists seize the quote, algorithms follow. The rumor that once lived in photographs now lives in push notifications. Let's separate three things that are often fused in the noise. The fact, the framing, and the fallout. The fact, in his memoir, Juan Carlos denies an affair with Diana. The framing, he characterizes her private demeanor in terms guaranteed to offend admirers who remember warmth and vulnerability. The fallout, coverage ricochets from royal desks to political pages because this book is not merely celebrity recollection. It is a bid to reposition an exiled king inside Spain's public memory. Why a memoir, and why now? Because books can do what statements cannot. Contextualize. In his architecture of events, the Diana denial is one stone in a larger structure built on the transition, Spain's shift from dictatorship to democracy. 23F, the night of the 1981 coup attempt, the abdication, his 2014 exit, in exile, his 2020 departure to the UAE amid a storm of financial and personal scandal. A book is an invitation to judge the whole, not only the headline. Whether readers accept the invitation is another question. The interviews turbocharge the narrative. French press gets an early crack. British media translate and amplify. Spanish outlets interpret through their own unresolved questions about monarchy, corruption, and a house long accustomed to settling family business in private. And then there's the transatlantic pop culture pipeline, sites that distill dense histories into shareable bites. This is how a sentence meant to correct the record becomes the record's most viral entry. Here is the counterweight you should hear in your head as the churn escalates. Diana's own contemporaries documented her discomfort around some powerful men and the protective instincts she had when feeling cornered by status games. For her admirers, this doesn't read as cold, it reads as boundaries, a rare luxury denied to her for most of her adult life. For Juan Carlos, it may have read as frost. Two perceptions can be sincere and irreconcilable, even when one of the perceivers is a king. Reactions split along familiar fault lines. Some cheer the denial as necessary housekeeping. One rumor down, 1,000 to go. Others condemn the characterization as an unnecessary cruelty, an airless judgment delivered decades after the person judged lost the right to reply. Still others shrug, insisting the memoir's larger stakes dwarf the Diana passage. The praise he reserves for those who empowered him, the controversies that drained his moral credit, the legal inquiries that ended without charges but left scars on public trust. Did you know, for publishing houses, memoir math is part sales, part statecraft. In this case, the title Reconciliation does double duty. Reconciliation with the Spanish public and reconciliation of scattered narratives into a single spine. Reports trail the rollout like confetti. French edition first, Spanish edition to follow, a long-form magazine profile, a carefully curated media lane that ensures the most quotable line crosses borders in hours. Now to the human heart of the denial. People don't remember footnotes, they remember moments. For those who clung to the Mallorca myth, the denial lands like an eraser on a cherished pencil line. For those who saw the rumor as a cruel annex tacked onto a woman's grief, it's a needed correction, albeit soured by the way it was delivered. For Juan Carlos, it is a proof of candor. If he is willing to say something unpopular about someone beloved, perhaps readers will believe him elsewhere. Verdict on Part 2, a single line in a late-life memoir, cannot end a rumor that spent decades metastasizing in public, but it can redraw the archive. Future biographers will footnote a denial instead of a silence. That matters. In history's math, even a half page can shift the sum. Part 3, Legacy, Memory, and the Cost of a Crown. Begin with a paradox. The king who says he safeguarded Spain's democracy also admits he has disappointed many people. The monarch who once personified national renewal became the exile who made easy headlines for the wrong reasons. In that ledger, the Diana denial is a tiny line item. The bigger question is this: can a book do what time and silence could not? Square a nation's respect for 1978 with its anger over everything that followed? To measure that question, you need two clocks. Clock 1 tracks heroic time, the king at the center of Spain's peaceful transition, the voice that urged restraint when old ghosts rattled sabers, the institution that learned to bend. Clock 2 tracks scandal time, the elephant hunt that felt like an insult during economic pain, the financial stories that stretched across borders and prosecutors' desks, the complicated personal life that made a constitutional crown look carelessly human. The memoir attempts to set those clocks back to the same hour. The legal chapter matters. Multiple investigations in Spain and Switzerland eventually closed with no charges, thanks to a mix of insufficient evidence and legal constraints like statutes of limitation and inviolability during his reign. But law is not the only bar a monarch must clear. Trust is. And trust had already been debited by the imagery of excess, in the sense, fair or not, that transparency arrived late and reluctantly. Now overlay memory politics. Spain remains in live conversation with itself about how to narrate the Franco era, the transition, and the monarchy's place within both. In that debate, Juan Carlos's voice is both privileged and suspect. Privileged because he lives central chapters, suspect because he has every incentive to arrange them in his favor. A passage read by some as indulgent toward the dictator who made him king doesn't help. It reignites a moral argument that younger Spaniards approach with less reverence than their grandparents. So what does reconciliation look like in practice? Not a triumphant return necessarily, more like a negotiated détente with history. Spaniards agreeing to hold both truths at once, that a king helped stabilize a fragile democracy, and that the same king later treated public trust like a line of credit. Reconciliation is not forgiveness. It is an agreement about order. What comes first in the story when school books get edited and museum placards get replaced? Where then does Princess Diana belong in that order? As a test, a pop culture stress test that reveals a reader's priors. If you treat her as a sainted victim, the former king's characterization feels like sacrilege. If you treat him as a statesman beaten down by tabloid distortion, the denial reads like overdue hygiene. If you distrust them both, it registers as two incompatible memoirs sharing one body, the public book and the book of photographs your mind refuses to close. Did you know there's a reason memoirs peak late in life? Power devours nuance in real time. Memory restores it at the end. That restoration is never clean. It is editorial by design, selective by necessity. In this case, selection presents as courage, speaking plainly about beloved figures, and as convenience, placing the hardest judgments in a voice that cannot answer back. The most generous read of the Diana chapter is that Juan Carlos wanted to erase a rumor that did not serve truth, the monarchy, or Diana's legacy. The least generous is that he used her memory as a rhetorical device, proof he could be blunt, while polishing other parts of the mirror. The likely reality sits uneasily between those poles. People are not algebra. They are footnotes, contradictions, and sentences that refuse to end where they should. Where this lands is up to the audience. For Britons, it's a coda to an era that ended in a Paris tunnel and refuses to stop echoing. For Spaniards, it's one paragraph in a national chapter still being written. For students of power, it's a case study. How image makes myths, how silence sustains them, and how a late-life sentence can redirect the road future historians travel. So close the book, literally. The rumor loses a palace-sized source. The archive gains a denial. A king tries to reclaim his story. A princess, long gone, continues to edit our conscience from the margins. If reconciliation is even possible here, it will not arrive as applause. It will arrive as clarity, the kind that lets nations remember accurately, mourn generously, and move, finally, without dragging rumors behind them, like cans on a getaway car.